Hello, good day, welcome. I am by name Samuel Babatunde, and today we'll be taking agricultural science. Agricultural science. Remember, in our previous class, we've discussed about the definition of agriculture, and then we look at the meaning, we look at the importance of agriculture, and also we discussed about the types of agriculture. So today we are going to be looking at the forms of agriculture, the various forms of agriculture. We're going to look at the various forms. That's the crop cultivation, the horticulture, the animal rearing, the fishery. So all these we're going to be considering under forms of agriculture. So stay tuned as we proceed with this class. So like I said, we're going to be doing the forms of agriculture. And under these forms of agriculture, we are going to be considering only two topics because of our time. Time will not permit us to look at the whole of these forms of agriculture, but we're taking them bit by bit. What I mean is that after this class, I will continue with other forms of agriculture. But for today's lesson, we're going to be looking at crop farming and horticulture. Crop farming and horticulture. Now, there are different forms of agriculture, and their practice depends on the environment we find ourselves. There are different forms of agriculture, and one practice depends on individual farmers based on several factors. That is, we have variety of the forms of agriculture. We have different forms of agriculture, and the one each farmer chooses to practice depends on several factors. It might depend on its location, it might depend on the weather, it might depend on the environmental condition, that's the weather, like I said, depends on his social background, his belief. So all these affect what the choices of each farmer's practice, because there are different forms of agriculture, and each of these farmer chooses a particular what form in which they practice. And we say this choice in which they make depends on several factors. Now, the main forms of agriculture are, we have the crop farming, the horticulture, livestock farming, apiculture, or what we know as beekeeping or bee rearing, fishery, snail farming, snailry, or heliculture. So these are the various forms of agriculture. Remember, in our previous class, we talked about the types of agriculture, where we talk about subsistence agriculture and commercial agriculture. And we say subsistence agriculture involves the planting activities or agricultural activities just for the family consumption alone, while the commercial is in large scale for what business purposes. But today we are considering the forms of agriculture, and we see these various, and there are various forms, and they include the crop farming, the horticulture, the livestock farming, apiculture or beekeeping, fishery, and snail farming. So for today's lesson, for the sake of today's lesson, we are going to be considering only two, which is the crop farming and the horticulture. Crop farming and horticulture. Now let's proceed to crop farming. Crop farming is the cultivation of food and is the cultivation of food for industrial use and even for family consumption. Crop farming can therefore be grouped into two: food crop farming and industrial crop farming. So when you hear the word crop, normally you know what crop means. Crop is what is like an aspect of agriculture that deals with plants. So whenever you hear the word crop, you know that what you are relating to plants. You're talking about plants in aspect of agriculture, not animals. So crop farming simply means what? The cultivation of plants, food crops, the cultivation of food crops. It can either be what? Food crop farming or industrial crop farming. You know, these crops now, they're divided into two. We have the food crops, that's the one we can consume, the one we eat, like the maize, the cassava, all these ones, the one we eat. And then we have what? Some industrial crop farm and crops, like your cocoa, that will have to be processed into beverages. So these ones are industrial crops. So crop farming involves what? The production or the cultivation of either the food crops or the industrial crops. Now, the crop farmer adopts various agricultural systems. That is the crop farmer now. That's the farmer involved in this crop farming. We refer to them as the crop farmer. They adopt various agricultural systems, cropping and farming system in crop production, e.g., mixed cropping. So there are different like system even in this crop farming that each of these crop farmers engage in. It's either they practice mixed cropping. Mixed cropping simply means what? Planting various crops, different crops like planting of maize, planting of cassava, planting of beans on the same farmland. We call it mixed cropping now because it's not you're not planting just one particular crop. You're planting like a different crop on the same farmland. So a crop farmer can decide to what to engage in mixed cropping. Some can decide to what engage in monocropping, means what planting of one or a particular crop. For instance, planting of only maize on your farmland, we call that monocropping. So a crop farmer can decide that you want to practice what monocropping. Some might decide they want to practice what multiple cropping. Multiple cropping. That's what planting of different planting of different crops on the same farmland regularly. Like after this, you plant the next one. Maybe after the maize season, the next you plant what? You plant your granules, maybe when it's granule season, and then again you go for the vegetables. That is what multiple cropping. Some practice crop rotation. That is maybe this year you plant maize, you change it next year, you plant yam, the year that follows, you plant cassava. This is crop rotation. So we're still going to look at all these things individually when we come to that. But for the sake of this lesson, we're just going to be considering only crop farming. And I say crop farming involves the cultivation of crops, and this crop now is divided into two, either the food crops or the industrial crop. So crop farming simply what entails food crop farming and industrial crop farming. And like I said, that the crop farmer can adopt various forms or various systems in his crop farming, either mixed cropping, monocropping, multiple cropping, or crop rotation, depending on the one that is popular in his or her locality and other factors such as availability of land. Like I told you, that the choice of a farmer in each or to pick any form of agriculture in order to practice depends largely on the factors around him. It depends largely on some factors, and some of these factors is what availability of land, the locality where he lives, his belief, his social background. All these things what affect his choice. Now, take for instance, now in terms of this crop farming, a farmer might decide to undergo mixed cropping because what land might not be available. If there were to be what land or surplus land, he might decide to undergo monocropping, that's planting of a particular crop on each farmland. But because the land is not available and he wants to cultivate various crops, he undergo what's mixed cropping, planting of different crops on the same farmland. So these systems actually depends on the locality or other factors such as the availability of land. Now most crop farmers grow two or more crops at the same time on the same plots of land. On the same plot of land. So they grow one or more crop on the same plots of land. Why? It might be to what? Inavailability of land. Maybe the land is limited, so they have to what? Undergo mixed cropping. Food crop farmers produce crops for human consumption and feeding of livestock. Now, this is aspect of food crop farmers. The food crop farmers produces food what? For the main purpose of consumption. The main purpose why these food farmers produce crops is for what? For consumption, and not just for human consumption alone, but for feeding of the livestock. Remember, these livestock are also animals, and they need to feed. For them to stay alive, for them to grow, they need to feed. So these food crop farmers do not only produce food for human, they produce food for what? For the livestock. So the main purpose of food crop farming is what? Is for food, is for consumption, food consumption for human and for livestock. Now, crops commonly grown by farmers for consumption include what? The millets, the maize, the groundnuts, the yam, cocoyam, cowpea, onion, cassava, and sorghum. If you notice that all these crops I just mentioned are actually required for what? Consumption. These foods are consumed by either humans or livestock. So the sole aim of food crop farming is what? Production of food for human consumption and livestock consumption. But on the other hand, industrial crop farming, they produces what? Crops mainly for industrial use or for sale. So their sole aim is for what? Their sole aim is to produce crop for what? Industrial use. Their own sole aim is not for consumption at all. The crops they produce is not for consumption. It's not for human or livestock consumption or feeding of livestock. It's just solely for what? Industrial purpose, for sale. And this crop include what? Cocoa, like I told you. Cocoa has to be processed into various beverages in which you consume today. But if you notice, when it is being produced or when it's being cultivated, it's not cultivated to be consumed directly, but what? For industrial use. Unlike the maize now, in which is a food crop that once this maize is produced, you just what? You consume it. So this is the difference. Crop farming is divided into two: the food crop farming and the industrial crop farming. Now the food crop farmers produces food for human consumption and for feeding of livestock, while the industrial crop farmers, they produce crops for what? For industrial use or for sale. And these crops include what? The cocoa, the cotton which we use to make our clothes, cotton, the coffee, tea, rubber, and jute. Jute are plants that we use which we use to make sack. All this sack that we use are actually gotten from jute. So all these are what? They are industrial crops, and it's still under what? Crop farming. It's under crop farming. So basically, crop farming is divided into two: the food crop farming and the industrial crop farming. So we have the food crop farming, the food crop farming, and the industrial crop farming. These are the two aspects of crop farming. Now we move to what? To horticulture, which is the second form of agriculture we are going to be considering today, which is horticulture. Now, horticulture is a practice of growing fruits, ornamental plants, and vegetables. Horticulture deals basically with what? With the practice of growing fruits, ornamental plants, and vegetables. We know fruit. Example of fruit is mangoes, oranges, your banana. So the aspects of agriculture that deals with planting of fruits, cultivation of fruits, is known as horticulture. The aspect of agriculture that deals with what? With the cultivation of ornamental plants. Now, ornamental plants simply means flowers, plants that beautifies our surrounding, that beautify our environment, our homes, our schools, our workplace. All these are ornamental plants. Vegetables. Vegetables are all these plants that we use and we see today. Example is your okra, your tomatoes, all these are vegetables, your pepper, your spinach, they are what? They are vegetables. Now, horticulture is divided into three. So there are three divisions under horticulture. You know, horticulture is like an umbrella under agriculture that deals with the practice of growing fruits, ornamental plants, and vegetables. Now, we want to split horticulture into three divisions. Into the division that deals with what? Growing of fruits, the division that deals with the growing of ornamental plants, and the division that deals with the growing of what? Vegetable. Now, under these three divisions, we have the what? Pomology, we have the Olariculture, and the Floriculture. These are the three divisions under horticulture. Remember, horticulture is a form of what? Agriculture that deals with the growing of fruits, ornamental plants, and vegetables. So we have fruits number one, ornamental plants number two, and vegetables number three. So because of this, we are dividing horticulture into three divisions. And the first division is pomology. The second division is Olariculture, and the third division is Floriculture. Now we're going to be considering this individually. Now we'll look at pomology. What is pomology? Pomology is one of the division of horticulture, and pomology deals with the production of fruit crops. Remember, horticulture is the practice of growing of what? Fruit crop, ornamental plants, and vegetables. Now, pomology now is a division of horticulture that deal with the production of fruit crops such as orange, banana, pawpaw, mango, pineapple, and so on. You can see it now. Then olericulture here deals with what? The growing of vegetables. Remember, horticulture is the practice of growing what? Fruit crop, vegetables, and ornamental crop. Now, that aspect of growing what? Vegetable is what we call olericulture. That division that deals with the growing of what? Vegetable is what we refer to as olericulture. So it deals with the growing of vegetable, such as leafy vegetable, e.g., the lettuce, the cabbage, the pumpkin, amaranthus, your root vegetables, e.g., the carrots, your fruit vegetables, e.g., the tomatoes, your okra, your spinach, your garden egg, and your cucumber. So all these are what vegetable. So you can start. Pomology is a division of horticulture, the division that deals with what the production of fruit crops. While Olariculture is a division of horticulture that deals with what the growing of vegetables. Now let's look at the last division. The last division is what Floriculture. Floriculture is the last division, and I say floriculture is the production of and the management of ornamental plants such as trees, shrubs, and flowers. Now, ornamental plants are plants that are grown mainly to beautify what our environment. So I told you that floriculture deals with the production and management of what flowering plants, plants that beautify our environments, our surrounding, our workplace, our homes, our schools, that are referred to as ornamental plants. They are planted for what? For the main purpose of beauty. So floriculture is a division of horticulture that deals with the what cultivation of ornamental plants. Now remember, horticulture is like an umbrella having what three divisions. And we say horticulture involves what the cultivation of ornamental plants, which is the floriculture, vegetables, which is the olericulture, and fruits crop, which is what pomology. Now, examples of these ornamental plants include Pride of Barbados, the croton, the Indian almond, the hibiscus flower, the almonder, the rose, sunflower, flamboyant, royal palm, and so on. There are many ornamental plants, many ornamental crops. We have many flowering plants. And we say the production and management of ornamental plants is what we call floriculture, which is a division of horticulture. Now, what are the purpose of these ornamental crops? We say they are used for decoration. They are used for decoration of homes, offices, and parks. Remember, I told you that the main aim of this floriculture is for what? Is to produce plants that beautify our environments. Also, they are used for improve the aesthetic value of building and roads. This word aesthetic simply means what? Beauty. They improve the beauty, the value of our buildings, of our roads. You see houses that they plant flower around it. You notice that that house will be beautiful. The house will be fine. The flowers will add beauty to the house. Even in your sitting room, when you place flower in your flowering vase, you notice that what this flower gives the room beauty. And some also serve as food for man. Yes, some serve as food for man. So with this, we've come to the end of today's lesson on the forms of agriculture, where we studied only the crop and farming and the horticulture. So I just have a brief assignment for us. An assignment says, what is crop cultivation? Also known as what? Crop farming. What is crop farming? And then two says, mention the three divisions of horticulture, which I've taught you, the pomology, Olariculture, and the Floriculture. So before we go, I'll just do a brief recap on what we've done. We studied what? Forms of agriculture, and we look at crop farming and horticulture. And we see there are different forms of agriculture, and the choice of the farmer depends on what? Several factors. Depends on several factors around him, the land availability, his social background, his belief, the weather, and these forms include the crop farming, horticulture, livestock farming, apiculture, or beekeeping, fishery, and snail farming. But for today's lesson, we considered only crop farming and horticulture. And we say crop farming involves what? Cultivation of food and industrial crop. The cultivation of food and industrial crop, meaning that crop farming can therefore be grouped into two, which is what? The food crop farming and the industrial crop farming. And we say food crop farming involves what? The production of food for consumption, human and livestock consumption, while the industrial crop farming involves the production of crops for what? For industrial use or for sale. And we say example of food crop include what? The mangoes, the maize, the sorghum, the groundnuts, the cocoyam. While example of industrial crops include what? Include the jute, the rubber, the coffee, and the cotton. Then we move to horticulture, and I say horticulture, which is a form of agriculture, deals with the growing of three aspects, three things: ornamental plants, vegetables, and fruits. Now, because of these three things, we now divide this horticulture into three what divisions, and we say they are what? Pomology, olericulture, and floriculture. Now, pomology deals with what? It deals with the production of food crops such as orange. While Olariculture deals with the what? Growing of vegetables. And then we say lastly that floriculture deals with the production and management of what? Ornamental plants, plants that beautify our surrounding, that beautify our environment. And I gave you some examples of these plants, and I also told you the purpose of this floriculture. Now, these plants are what? For decoration of our houses, our homes, offices, schools, and they improve what? The beauty of our homes, and they also serve as food for man. And then I give you an assignment that you should what? Tell me the meaning of crop cultivation, or let me just simply put crop farming. The meaning of crop farming. So you have to tell me the meaning of crop farming and also mention the three divisions of horticulture. So with this, we've come to the end of today's lesson. I still remain my name, Samuel Babatunde. Please make sure you follow us more on our Zoom class lesson. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more of this video. And please ensure you go further to read more on this topic, because I will be helping you break this topic into simpler forms in which you understand. Then it's left for you to go further and acquire more knowledge on this topic. Thank you very much, and God bless you.